There is a hidden treasure located in China's Xinjiang province's huge desert. Many mummies are kept in a network of tombs deep within, some of which are remarkably well preserved. These mummies are distinct from the others because of their traits, which suggests that they might have come from a place other than China. What was the identity of these people, and how did they get themselves here? The story begins in 1939 when Swedish archaeologist Bergman Folk, by chance, found a cemetery in the Xinjiang province near the Mongolian border. What met his eyes was quite astounding. There were many wooden coffins, shaped like boats, strewn across the area. He continued to investigate and found that these coffins had human remains, some of which were astonishingly well preserved because of the dry environment. People took a few photos and gathered samples, but they had to leave quickly as World War II broke out. Unfortunately, he never went back there, and for the next 60 years, most of his findings were forgotten. But in 2000, the burial ground was discovered again by a Chinese scholar who headed the Xinjiang Cultural Relics and Archaeology Institute. He named the burial ground Xia, which means small river in Chinese, from the year it was established. He and his group started a meticulous dig in 2005. Over 300 tombs in various levels, dating from roughly 2000 BC to 1500 BC, were discovered during this time. In addition to adults and children, these tombs contained 15 perfectly preserved mummies, some of which still had hair, skin, and clothing on display. This astounding find was the first time that so many mummies had been discovered anywhere in the world. There were many mysteries surrounding the Xia mummies. They were buried using elaborate rituals that included the application of wooden masks and other detailed facial decorations. After that, they were dressed in cowhide and woolen clothing and carefully arranged inside coffins that resembled boats. These coffins were surrounded by strong wooden posts and carefully covered with an ample coating of clay. In some of the graves, the bodies had been replaced with wooden figures, each with a red X. Every grain of sand was kept outside of the caskets by tight sealing of the mummies and their belongings. The distinctive appearance of the Xia mummies was what made them so remarkable. Their big eyes, long noses, and light hair gave them a European look, in contrast to typical Chinese features. The beauty of Xia was a young woman with long eyelashes and reddish-brown hair. She looked so well that her face was tranquil and she looked as though she was sleeping soundly. She wore a leather coat, a red woolen skirt, and a felt cap. She stood around 1.5 meters tall. She also had a bone comb in her right hand and a bronze earring in her left ear. Many were enthralled with Xia and the other mummies' attractiveness, which piqued interest in their history. How did they manage to survive in the harsh desert? And who were they? What were their lifestyles and beliefs? And why did they become extinct? Scientists used the framework of contemporary science to look for solutions. The genetic data gleaned from the mummies was closely examined by the researchers, who also compared it to people from antiquity and now. They also conducted a detailed inspection of the Xia tombs, surroundings, and artifacts. The findings they came upon were incredibly fascinating and astounding. It was found by the DNA study that the Xia mummies were not a homogeneous population, but rather a varied assemblage of ancestries. Some of the subjects carried genetic markers typical of Europeans, especially those from the west of the continent. In the meantime, some people were showed traits typical of Siberians, especially those from the Altai region. Furthermore, a small subset of the population had markers that are common to modern indigenous people in the Americas, such as Native Americans and Inuit. The marks suggest that the Xia mummies belonged to an ancient group that lived in Eurasia after the Ice Age ended, and some of them crossed the Bering Strait to reach the Americas. Furthermore, despite the considerable distance between the Xia mummies' resting places, the DNA analysis showed a close kinship among them. Finding out that the two people interred 400 kilometers apart in the Tarim basin may have been siblings due to their similar DNA composition is amazing. It would seem from this that the Xia were a small, isolated group of people who lived in a desert oasis. It appears that they would have chosen to stay apart from the surrounding communities, such as the herders who lived in the adjacent mountain valleys and brought in harvests and animals from the west. The Xia community was by no means isolated culturally. They created their own unique character by adopting numerous innovations and traditions from their surrounding towns. They wore elaborately woven woolen clothing, which was unusual for China in those days. To meet their agricultural demands, they also developed excellent implementations out of bone and bronze. They cleverly created irrigation systems to grow crops like millet and wheat, which were not native to the region. They also took great care of goats and sheep flocks. Furthermore, they extracted cow's milk to make cheese, a practice that was exclusive to ancient China. They conducted elaborate funeral rites for the dead, using motifs and symbols such as the sun, moon, boat, and deer that were influenced by various cultures. The Xia civilization associated the boat symbol with a particular mystique. The peculiar way the boat-shaped coffins were laid to rest was upside down. This custom is similar to the old Egyptian notion that pharaohs were transported to the afterlife in boats. Interestingly, oars were attached to the heads of these boat-shaped coffins, suggesting that they were meant to be used for navigation. Why the Xia people used boats in a desert with little water, however, is still a mystery. Have you ever wondered why the boats were buried next to the dead? Some researchers have suggested that the Xia people may have formerly been seafarers before moving into the desert, and that these boats are remnants of that past culture. They might have been the offspring of sailors who sailed the coasts of Asia and Europe, their boats serving as a symbol of their ancestry. According to some, the boats represented the Xia people's belief in an undersea world where their spirits would travel after death. They might have associated water with life and plenty and thought that their boats would lead them to a better place in the afterlife. The boats might have served as a tribute to a foreign culture that the Xia people either feared or revered. Maybe they had encountered the Vikings, who were known for their prowess at sea, their raiding adventures, and their practice of burying their dead in boats. The truth is that we might never fully understand the boat's significance to the Xia people or their actual origins. The Xia tombs are still a mystery today, clinging to their secrets. There are still unanswered concerns regarding the Xia mummies' lifestyle choices, abrupt disappearance, language, religious beliefs, and possibly their identity. It is obvious that they were a remarkable group that left a legacy of mystery and beauty. In addition to their mysterious origins and long history, the Xia mummies are a topic of debate and controversy because of their relevance and politics in the modern era. Conflicts and debates have arisen between the Xia mummies and the several groups that claim them as their ancestors or property. The Xia tombs are located in the Uyghur homeland in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. This Turkic ethnic group is distinct from the Han Chinese majority due to their own culture and religion. Sadly, in an effort to reduce their cultural identity and promote assimilation, the Chinese government has subjected the Uyghur people to persecution and abuse. Given the lengthy history of the Uyghur people in the area, some Uyghur nationalists contend that the Xia mummies are their forefathers. They see the mummies as a representation of their fight for autonomy. However, the Chinese government contests this, saying that the mummies are connected to other ethnic groups from different regions of Eurasia rather than the Uyghur people. The Chinese government has exhibited reluctance to allow scientists to undertake comprehensive research on the mummies due to the concerns that research may contradict their official narrative or their authority over the region. Furthermore, the Chinese government has worked to control access to and displays of the mummies both domestically and internationally.